So if someone approaches you with this, jump up and kiss me, what do you do? Yeah? That's a good overture, wouldn't you say? Yeah? Thank you very much to bringing these flowers and start kissing people, because then you may have to go to HR, and that's a whole different story. All right. So again, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We do have a very interesting program for you today. You have your coffee, get your tea, and get something to eat, right? And sit down and come back. Yeah? We're coming back, everybody.
I come from the Twin Island of Carnival. Oh Lord, it's we who create party, and we love plenty. Bacchanal, Lord. So don't tell me nothing when steel ball knocking and start to jam.
Plumbing problems? Don't guess. Call Plumbing Solutions at 628-4646. Proud to be serving Trinidad and Tobago for over 20 years. We do it all. Maintenance and repairs, new construction, sewer lines, inspection, drain cleaning, leak detection. We are licensed and insured. So call Plumbing Solutions at 628-4646.
Green Dot continues to deliver internet connectivity to a wide range of communities in Trinidad. With our combination fiber and wireless network, you get the service you need wherever you live. Stream your favorite shows, enjoy online tuition, stay in touch with your work team, and connect with friends and family with internet service at a price you can afford. As communities continue to grow, we continue to deliver. Call 224-GDOT or visit gd.tt today. Green Dot, improving and simplifying lives.
The Kaiso Jazz Experience on Saturday, March 30th at Soundforge with jazz pianist Andy Narell and his band, featuring Johnny McPherson on piano and vocals, Cuban trumpeter Alexis Barrow, and the legendary David Rudder pays tribute to Black's talent. Tickets available on islandetickets.com and at selected Haagen-Dazs location. Brought to you in partnership with First Citizens NLCB, Caribbean Airlines, K-Park Hotel, Vistrack, and 107.7 FM.
Please, I know good doctors does be at Harvard University. The rich school did John Humphrey and so damn a study. And here they did a crash course here at the School of Woodford Square.
And a very special good morning to all of you again. Welcome back, and I do appreciate you joining us on the morning edition today. We are beginning our program today with politics, and more so the brewing controversy within the United National Congress concerning its national executive elections. Now, concerns have come from Mayaro MP Rushton Parray. Mr. Parray is on the line with us this morning. Mr. Parray, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Marlon. Good morning to you and your listeners and viewers, and thank you for inviting me into your homes this morning.
Of course, Mr. Parray, the pleasure is all ours, Mr. Parray. Well, Mr. Parray, following your concerns, because you have been calling for the national executive elections within the UNC to be held by June this year, the political leader of the UNC, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, has said that she remains committed to the party's constitution. Is that satisfactory to you?
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I never had a doubt for one day that anyone in the leadership of the party would not want to adhere to the party's constitution. But I would like it to go a little further and, put a date in place, because there's a lot of work to do. I would like to see the widest possible participation of the membership in any elections. So the earlier that the date is called, the more preparations can be put in place for the widest participation. And that is my interest at this time.
Now, I'm just reading a report here. According to the party's constitution, Persad-Bissessar's term is up in 2025, but the NATEX, which is loyal to her, was elected in 2022, and its term goes up to June. Mr. Parray, if this information is correct, that the elections are to be held by June, and the political leader has said that you are jumping the gun. Is that the case? Because if they are going to be held in June, I take it from what the report is saying, then are you jumping the gun?
I don't think so. Anybody is jumping the gun, because we have a general election, a date which sits in the back pocket of the Prime Minister, scheduled for August next year and can be extended till November next year. But the party is screening candidates. Nominations are to be filed by April the 11th of this year. So I'm trying to rationalize how is asking the party to be prepared for an internal NATEX election in April this year, which we are sure of by virtue of the constitutional requirement. I don't understand, and I don't agree that is jumping the gun at all.
Yeah. Have you made your concerns, before you made your concerns public, did you make your concerns known to the party, and what was the response like?
Absolutely, and I made this very clear on Friday when I made the statement. I would have communicated with Mrs. Persad-Bissessar of concerns that I have, and if I could just, jump a bit back, over 1 year ago, I was invited to a meeting by a small group of political activists in the UNC who identified key issues that they felt were not being addressed. And in my communication with them, I said, look, you have MPs, you have coordinators. Why is it that, this conversation is not happening with them? And the feedback was apparently nobody is listening. So coming out of that meeting and coming out of the conversations that I would have had with them, I was invited to a series of meetings all over the country by activists who shared the same view. I wrote Mrs. Persad-Bissessar an email with some concerns that we needed to talk about it, and she graciously agreed. It took a little while for us to get the meeting going. And in that conversation, we agreed that, look, I will put these things documented carefully in details, matters around preparation for the general election in 2025, issues of the party constitution, clearly where the membership was feeling that they have become disconnected from the leadership of the party, and obviously issues around the NATEX election. And that was documented. I submitted a report, I think it's about 9 pages, detailing what the concerns were, and we're waiting for a response. Since I submitted it, I did not get a response up to today.
All right. Yes, I had some concern there earlier, Mr. Parray. All right, we have worked that out. Mr. Parray, why is this your fight? Of course, you said that some political activists would have approached you. Why didn't you say, look, I don't know if I want to deal with this, and hand it over to someone else? Why did you feel it is your fight?
Well, as elected representatives of the people, we are advocates an advocate has an audience that is much larger than the ordinary man. We have access to Parliament, we have access to the media, we have access to radio and television, like what we are doing here. And as advocates of issues of the people, we have a duty. And I'll tell you this, as an MP for the last 8 years, Marlon, I have been bombarded with requests from every corner of this country. You know, not only the constituents of Mayaro, I would have people from all over the country asking MP, can you help me with this matter of land, help me with this matter of an issue with my home, because there's a feeling outside there that, Parray is this hardworking fella in Mayaro, and if you're not making any headway where you are, even in PNM constituencies, that they reach out to me, and as I said, as a representative of the people, I don't tell them, look, I can't help you because I am not your MP. We will put together any type of paperwork to get the process going. Now, I say that to mean that I was not surprised by getting these calls. And what do? Do you try and trap and pass? No, you try to advocate on behalf of our membership. And this is where it is. This is the membership who's asking a sitting MP, hey, can you do something on our behalf? And that is where, and I accepted. Nobody can fault me for accepting the fact that they had reached out to me and said, look, Parray, would you be an advocate for us? And that's exactly what I've done.
But MP, since your statement, a number of people and a number of constituencies and a number of regional corporations, UNC-controlled corporations, have all walked away from you, and they are not giving you the support in this respect. In fact, some of them believe what you are doing is really a betrayal of the party and also the political leader. On the weekend, you had opposition Senate Leader Wade Mark saying that your actions were mischievous, and he was accusing you of bullying the party. Also, I'm seeing a statement from opposition Senator Jerlene John, where she's saying it is difficult to fathom how someone who professes a desire to lead the UNC does not walk or work with the rank and file, but instead believes they can parachute their way into the leadership. In the UNC, you cannot take the high road to high UNC office. That idea is dead on arrival. You have to work hard. It's the only path to progress and success.
I don't know where any of that is coming from, and I would not even attempt to get into the minds of my colleagues. And look, at the end of the day, it is the right of everyone to hold a position on anything. And it is my right to hold a position on anything as well. I don't understand for 1 minute. I don't know if they actually listened to the press briefing on Friday. At no time in that press briefing did I make any statement concerning whether I am interested in a leadership position or whether there's anything about Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar. I am confused where this narrative came from. I was particularly strong in emphasizing about there's a NATEX election, and that was the focus. So I don't know where all these things come from. Now, that being said, I have the greatest respect in the world for all of my colleagues. Every one of them, because the enemy here is the PNM. I continue to have a good working relationship with every single one of them. So, as I say, I can't jump into the minds of the persons who would have right and show their support for Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar, because that's their right. Nobody's challenging that. So, I am a bit at a loss of understanding where all of this came from. And I mean, I can't stop anybody from interpreting what I said on Friday, but I am very sure, absolutely sure, Marlon, that my focus was on the rights of the members, the general ordinary members, because I'm a member of the party as well. Before being an MP, I am a member, I'm a lifetime member of the party. And there is a constitutionally due election that is coming very soon. And we felt that, listen, in order to deal with the issues that the members, the membership, because the membership is who we work for, they have a right to have their voices heard. And how do they get their voices heard? is through the electoral process. And that was the focus. So I don't understand where that type of positioning came from. And I mean, they have every right to hold a position on their own, but I don't agree with it.
All right. So, Mr. Parray, have you been misinterpreted? Because I get the feeling here, and I'm reading a report here where you indicated last week that you are absolutely interested in UNC leadership. Have we misinterpreted?
Well, the question was asked. I mean, I can't fault any journalist for interpreting what I say and the news headlines. The question was, I think in that particular report, was whether or not I have an interest in leading the party at any time. And my position was this.
All right, Mr. Parray, could you hold on a little bit? Studio, could we fix that, please? All right, thank you very much. Go ahead, Mr. Parray.
Yes. And my position was that, look, leadership of anything, more so in a political party, is not something that you apply for. It's not a job that you apply for. If there is an opening item, the membership of the party will judge anybody who offers themselves in any role, whether it's party organizer, whether it is education officer, whether it is chairman, or whether it is even the political leader. Any member, the Constitution gives any member the right to offer themselves for the service. But it's up to the membership to make that decision. And that is all I anchored my response on. That if there is any time, and as I said, the political leader, that vacancy doesn't come up for election until 2025. And nobody's arguing that. So I mean, however you choose to interpret that at the end of the day, you know, it was the author's choice to read it as this side. But it has never been anything concerning Mrs. Prasad Bisesa or the political leadership of the party.
Yeah, but are you interested in the top leadership, political leadership position in the UNC?
I am interested to be part of any organization where hard work and determination has a path to the top. And that is what I stand for.
So is that a yes?
Well, yes. I mean, I've tried to make it as simple as possible. But as I said, this is not a decision for me. The membership of the party, when that time comes, whether it's myself, whether it's Dr. Munilal, anybody else who offers themselves at that time, the membership of the party will look at your track record, what you do, what you bring to the party, and they will make that choice. That is not a decision that I would make.
Yeah. Mr. Parray, you get the impression, or are you concerned that over what you have been seeing over the past few days, in that the support, let me put it this way, do you feel that you still have the support when the political activists would have approached you to lead this charge? Do you think that you still have that support? Because since then, your statements, we have seen where your own executive, the Mayaro UNC executive, and other corporations, UNC-controlled corporations, have really distanced themselves from your statements and from what you are trying to do. Are you concerned about that?
No, because as I said, I am wondering, what are you distancing yourself from? Are you distancing yourself from a call for democracy in the party? Is that what you're distancing yourself from? Are you distancing yourself from a call of the membership to have their voices heard? If that is what you're distancing yourself from, well, that should be a concern for the entire party. But let me deal with the issue of the executive and my corporation up here. And I'll tell you this. The chairman of the Mayaro Regional Corporation and the chairman of the constituency are two of the most gentle and wonderful and decent human beings that you would ever find. I have worked with both gentlemen for many, many years. As a matter of fact, Mr. Koze, I've known him since a child, since I was 16 years old. So we have a good relationship. The councillors of the regional corporation, they have supported me well through 2 general elections. I have supported them through 3 local government elections. The executive of the constituency, I meet them very often at party functions. We do family day sports. Most recently, Marlon, in December, we hosted a gala dinner and award ceremony for stalwarts of the party who came up from DLP and ULF days. And every one of the members of our executive was there, and we socialized well. So, I mean, I asking what was the nature in terms of the context of the position that they have adopted. I mean, it's only they alone could answer that. But as I said, I continue to have a great relationship with all the persons involved. So that is up for them to decide. But I can tell you, you had a poll in the newspaper, the Daily Express newspaper, yesterday. And there was an overwhelming support. I mean, I still have, tons of support on this matter, even. And the fundamental thing here is that, I mean, my voice is as strong as every other person's voice in the party. There are 11 members of the executive, 9 members of the corporation in terms of the political arm of the corporation, and they all have voices. But there are thousands of voices in Mayaro and about 100,000 voices throughout the country. And all the voices matter at the end of the day. And this is where I feel strongly that I am in good standing as of today in terms of the position that I would have adopted.
Now, the Member of Parliament for Tabaquite, Anita Haynes Alain, she is supporting your calls for the party's internal elections. Also, on the weekend, you were asked who are the other people, some of the other people who were supporting you, and you had said at that time, they are all supporting me, every one of them. I'm not sure who wants to say it now, but I'm sure over time they will say it. So are other MPs within the United National Congress supporting your call? And if so, why is it they have not made it public?
At the end of the day, every one of us in the parliament, whether you're an MP or a councillor, you are there at the behest of the electors, the party members who have put you there. I had considerable amount of meetings with my, the party members in terms of my Mayaro constituency, and explain to them what was the call, and this is what I would do. So perhaps other MPs have to discuss it well with their internal folks. But what I am sure, none of my colleagues, whatever position that they hold, none of them will deny the membership of the party who they represent the right to have their voices heard with regards to the internal elections. And I suspect over time, more of them will take a position. Some of them may be open to having the discussion in the public domain. Some of them may quietly support it, in the background. But at the end of the day, the ultimate objective here is that we feel that the current NATEX should not be dismissive. They should never be dismissive of the call to an election, because they are there because of the electoral process. And it is really disheartening or even concerning that, men and women who are in a position because of an election can have a decision or can decide when is an appropriate time to call an election, which is clearly stated in the constitution of the party. But I know good sense will prevail. We continue to remain a strong party. We continue to remain focused on the issues of the country. I mean, all of a sudden, the focus on the oil spill that has gone quiet, the SSA fiasco. These things are what we will continue to focus on while we clean and we fix our internal, because that is something that we can do at the same time. Anybody who says that having an internal election and not being able to prepare for a general election and discuss the issues of the country, I think that is selling the party short as a political vehicle. I think the vehicle itself is a strong vehicle. It just needs to be focused and managed in a particular way. And I feel we can do all 3 or 4 items at the same time successfully, because we've done it in the past.
Now, I know that following your news conference, where you would have made your concerns known, I know that the opposition leader had responded when she also held a news conference with members of the trade union movement. And at that news conference, when questioned about your call, she said, we have some wannabes. I wish them good luck and say we remain committed to the party's constitution. We follow the party's constitution. How did that comment of the opposition leader hit you, strike you?
Oh, I mean, it strikes. I took it in the most loving way. I mean, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa is a very astute politician. I mean, she's not a newbie. When you listen to the commentary on the political platform, that's part of the course. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to be in this band, you have to be willing to take a bit of mud at times. But my respect and my love for my colleagues remain. All of them, including the political leader. At the end of the day, a little joke, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't rub off on me at all. I tend to not engage in that kind of conversation. So you would rarely ever find me responding in that kind of manner, in any kind of manner outside of, dealing with the issue, dealing with the point. And Marlon, we must always remember this. And I mean, this goes beyond the politics. This goes into how we live. It matters very little on the who, but it matters much on the why. And if the people around me or those who are making commentary focus less on Rushton Parray, but why is this matter important to him? I think we can resolve these things very, very quietly, internally, rather than, washing this thing in a way that they feel will interrupt the sanctity of the party. So why? That is to me. So any issue you have with someone, forget the who, focus on the why. And I think when we answer the why, we will make progress.
Has there been any overture by anyone within the United National Congress for you and them to sit down and speak about this and maybe set a date for the elections?
No, we have not had that conversation happen. What I can tell you is that several of my colleagues have reached out to me, extending support. They have the reasons why certain things has to happen. But in general, there is mass support at all levels to continue the democracy of the party. But to answer your specific question in terms of an outreach, in terms of getting fixed dates and so on, no, that has not happened.
Yeah. And is it that what you want, for the UNC to set a date and the matter could be settled?
Absolutely, because when a date is set, in my very first conversation when we started the interview, I said that I would like to see the widest participation of the membership. And when the dates are compressed in, then it denies the wider membership. And if we want to have the best possible option, team, going into the 2025 general election, we must allow the widest part of the membership to participate. And given sufficient time for that to happen, that will augur well for the party. It will augur well for the institution of the party. It gives the party enough time to, grease the wheels of the machinery for an election. And this is a good place to start.
Mr. Parray,
I would hope that over the next week we get a date.
Yeah. I have one more question. I'm going to take 1 minute. I'm going to steal a minute.
Sure.
You have, over the past few weeks, you have spoken about, because of what you are doing, there's a conversation that that could be political suicide. But yet, we are also hearing you speaking about your political future. Are you still optimistic about your political future? And do you believe that everything that has been said in public, that bygones can be bygones sometime in the future, and that you can continue your political career within the United National Congress?
I am sure there is a wonderful future for me in the United National Congress only. And I want to make that clear. My future in the politics is anchored to the philosophy of the United National Congress, which I have accepted. In terms of your original question, I would like to take a quote that I heard from Mr. Jack Warner one day. He said, a day is a lifetime in politics, and today is today and tomorrow is tomorrow. I have seen bitter enemies hug up and shake hands on political platforms. It is part of the course. And Remember, the United National Congress was the first party in this country to democratize the voting process.
Yes.
One man, one vote. So I believe we are anchored on the principles of democracy. And if we stand on that line, I think good sense will prevail, and we will continue to lead in terms of how we operate as a party going into government and lead government successfully.
Mr. Parray, thank you very much for speaking with us this morning. We always appreciate your presence on our program, and we do appreciate your presence this morning. Thank you for now. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, so we do have another break.
May have been a bit more even tone, but he was attacked when I saw people saying, including Mr. Pasabi says, aspirations, outweigh talents. Dr. Monilal, MP for Princeton, Parray, and others seem to have come out and say, listen to me, hush your mouth, we're talking now for, we're supposed to be together and we're heading into an election.
And you see, again, right, this idea of we are supposed to be together. In my mind, we are all together. Again, I looked at Mr. Parry's press conference on Friday, and I think he was also clear that we do have a duly elected political leader. So that is not within the conversation. But while you hold the position, any position, you ought not, I mean, if you have benefited from an election got you your position, you can't then now take that elected position and say there's no need for elections. You know, that is, to me, that does not take us where we need to be. And so that to have members who are currently on the national executive saying we must hold together, now is not the time. But you were elected. I mean, nothing stopped Keith Rowley from calling the election in 2022. Nothing, right? When we had the NATEX election in June. If he woke up in the morning in May of 2022 and he said, you know what? General elections in September, there's nothing the United National Congress could have done, and we would have been fully in the swing of our internal elections. So I think those things, they are being thrown in to create a conversation that I firmly believe has been unnecessary and uncalled for. And that is why I came out yesterday and back out today to say, listen, let us do better. We can perform the functions of our internal democracy while being ready for a general election. Two things can be true.
Have you gotten any personal pushback in terms of members of that same executive reaching out to you personally?
No, actually.
Is there some benchmark that was not reached that may have justified Rushton Parray's call at this time? Because you said your last missive was that, well, people who were elected should not resist an election. Was there some indication that an election was not going to be held that may have prompted Mr. Parray's call at this time? Is there a particular timeline involved that was not met?
No, we haven't met the timeline, but like I said, I think for those of us who are interested in seeing our internal processes handled in the manner they ought to be, the conversation around the creation of a screening committee, being well aware that the screening committee is created from the national executive, that it seemed to indicate that the narrative around the general elections would be used to say no internal elections. Because if you're going to have a screening committee that is comprised of an executive in May, knowing that that executive will expire in June, I mean, it would leave those of us who are thinking about it to assume that you didn't intend to call the election in June.
One of the newspapers is quoting you this morning as saying, well, I am prepared to stand by whatever consequences comes with me speaking out. Elaborate on that for us a bit, please.
The question, I was answering a direct question that was posed, which is that persons who tend to speak out within our political landscape are removed from the political landscape. So I said, well, if that's the case, I'm prepared to stand by the consequences. And so if it is that the thinking of the persons who will be making decisions going forward into 2025, that having these types of conversations in some way destabilizing to a political organization, and then that, if that is a consequence, well, then that is, I mean, I don't think that I think that the consequences of silence far outweigh the consequences of speaking out.
And the screening committee will form from the present NATEX in its present incarnation.
Well, again, from the public, from what we can only assume, because once you've closed nominations in April, and you said that you're going to go into the process of screening, then until you've called a national executive election, the only space that you can pull persons to screen from would be the current NATEX.
Is there an insecurity? Is this part of also, and there's no doubt that some political analysts suggest that Mrs. Pasabi-Sesser, this may be, and I don't want to use the term loosely, do or die for her politically. Dr. Rowley has won in 2015. Dr. Rowley has won in 2020. The UNC did gain a little ground in the local government election. But on a national scale, if Mrs. Pasabi-Sesser is not successful in 2025, it may spell the end of a political career. Is that part of the equation here?
That would be a difficult question for me to answer, because I'd be commenting on the thought process of somebody else. But I mean, look, for any political leader, it is the most important work is how you carry the party into elections. Mrs. Pasabi-Sesser has taken the United National Congress to a win in 2010. She held a coalition government in a space between 2010 to 2015. So none of these things ought to be diminished in this conversation. The successes that she would have brought to the party, having us between 18 and 19 seats, those things ought not to be minimized at any point in time. But, there is a certain amount of consideration to the fact that we have not held office since 2015. To me, that is not the doing of any one individual. It's certainly not just the political leader, but it does put us in a place, I think, to consider very carefully what we are offering the public in 2025, and to ensure that the results are different. And so, whatever the thinking is, Mrs. Pasabi-Sesser, and I'll make it clear, once we've had an internal election, once you've committed to the democratic process within the United National Congress, and you've faced the electorate, and you receive a mandate, people will go forward. But you can't say that these elections aren't required, or that we're in the process of preparing for 2025, and that somehow our internal processes must be put in the back end of things, when to me it is a sign of a growing democracy. It's a sign of what you offer the public if you can handle your internal affairs properly and then get ready for general elections.
Anita Haynes, I could listen to you and look at you all morning long.
Thank you. And I agree with you, Anita. It's important to speak out if you figure something is not right. I think that's what moves politics forward in a more transparent and progressive manner in Trinidad and Tobago.
In the ideal world.
I think the one thing you can say about me is that I have been consistent in my politics, right? If there are things, since entering the political landscape, I have made sure that I am consistent with my politics. So if anybody would have been paying attention, you would know that I really would not have sat quietly and said, let us ignore democracy within our party for whatever political space we may be in 2024, 2025.
Clearly, your major is communication. It's showing. Thanks for being with us this morning. We always appreciate you with us, and congrats again on the nuptials, and all the best.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Same to you.
All the best.